Save 8% off your order at TruTechTools.com by using the Shop Talk discount code. Hello and welcome back to HVAC Shop Talk. I am your host, Zack Psioda. Hope you guys are doing good out there tonight. I see a lot of guys out here in the chat. Guys and girls, let me be specific here. We do have Susie and Jessica, who both say howdy at the same time. All you girls are alike with your howdies. We have Nelik Vids. Don't know who you are, man. Welcome to the show. I think you might be lost, though. I just got that feeling from his comments that he might be lost. HK HVAC Dragon, what's happening? Corey Lambrecht, Tyler HVAC R Tech, HVAC Residential Basics, Roger G, Kangaroo God, Hughesman HVAC. We got my buddy Beaver there. My buddy Beaver, I just want to put it out there that Joe's wires are fine. All right, that's great. All right, he'll know what I mean. Thomas Leck says, Zach, make up a song about COVID impacting our cost of materials and our backlog condensers and air handlers we can't get. I might make up a song. I'm going to center it around lumber, though, because that's how it's affecting me the most right now. I don't know how a 2x4 can cost more than $10 in America. I'm not sure. I just want to build a child's swing set, and it's going to be like $200. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. I might be able to build it out of untreated and make it just a one-season swing set. We have Jeff the Maintenance Man, Adam Heisch. See who else we have. We have Mr. Grabaka. That's a cool name. And let's see. I think that might be it. BK Air Conditioner. And hope you guys are doing great out there. So, what are we going to do tonight? All right, let me refer to my notes because there's a lot of stuff going on. The show's massive. If this were a Walmart, this would be a super Walmart. You know, just to picture this. If a regular show is a regular Walmart from like 1999, this show is a super Walmart that has a grocery section and a car service section. That's how big this show is. Just want to let you guys know that. I think we all understand that analogy, so that's why I use it. We have David Richardson here tonight from NCI. He'll be on in just a second. We have Joe Shearer. He's here from Florida. Since, I think that's probably accurate. He left. I looked down there. He's already left. He probably won't show up for his interview. But Joe's here. Joe's a good buddy of the show. He's actually a good buddy of this show, and he's a good buddy of the Men with Issues show, which is our Bible study we do on Friday night. He was on there a few times. So he's on both sides there. It's great. Joe's a multifaceted guy, just like the rest of us here. We're going to have that, and we're also going to have Skilled Trade Up. That's going to come later after Joe's interview. And tonight we have like the biggest Skilled Trade Up we've ever had. If I can move all my papers out of the way, I can show you our prizes. We have 4 levels, and I'll explain after I show you the prizes how the game is played. And then later on, hopefully one of you guys becomes courageous, hits the link, and comes in here and plays. I think you will. We have our number 1 prize, going to be a sweet hat. And what I think is one of the greatest things in the world, ratcheting tie straps for your truck. I use ratcheting tie straps every day of my life. Now, I'm in the country. We do a lot of hauling stuff around. We do a whole lot of work outside, so they come in very handy. These are nice ones. I'd bought them a while back for Skill Trade Up, and now they're finally making it onto the show. So we have that. We also have our second prize, which is going to be some Viper products, coil cleaner, as well as our Skilled Trade Up shirt that has HVAC Shop Talk on the other side. Our third prize is going to be the NAVVAC hydraulic tube expander. Okay. It's great. It goes all the way up to 1.5 inches. This is a really awesome tool. I used it on the service call I'll be releasing this Wednesday night, and I'll explain that a little bit in a second too. And we have our fourth prize, which is going to be a Navac vacuum pump. So tonight is a lot of great prizes on Skilled Trade Up. And the first two questions are easy. I mean, they're really easy questions. The third question is medium, and the fourth question is very hard. I'm going to put it like that, guys. And here's how the game is played. When you play Skilled Trade Up and like you win the first round by answering that easy question, you can either keep that prize, which is right here. This is the prize. It's sweet. It's nice. You can either keep that prize or you can trade it up to get to the next prize. Now, if you get that next question wrong, you lose everything. So there's a little bit of, there's a consequence here, but if you get it right, you get to keep all of it. So if you get all four questions right, you'll be keeping a vacuum pump, a tube expander, coil cleaner, and a shirt, a hat, and ratcheting tie straps. So it's going to be pretty nice. And I will tell you guys that I just received, there's been a few companies that have sent in prizes, one of which is Vito. They sent in an MB2 bag. That is a blackout version, the all-black version of the meter bag. I also just got in 2 sets of pliers from Knipex, which are really, really nice pliers, and we're gonna get a third one. And we also are going to receive a vacuum pump from Fieldpiece. So it's going to be pretty awesome. There's a lot of great stuff coming, and we're going to bring it all to the show. Eventually, you'll see it on here. All right, so welcome to, we have Eric M. from the Kalos Company. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It means awesome air conditioner in Greek. And I think that's it. I think that's good. Now, in the description of the video, you're going to see something you can click on to get live stream notifications. I will text you before the live stream. And I want to say 2 things. I encourage you to click on that, so I'll text you and make sure you have the link. Second thing is, I've noticed that there's a lot of people that have a T-Mobile phone that those messages are being blocked. So if you're not receiving the messages, there might be something you have set up on your phone or your carrier has issues with that you might want to check on so you get those. I might adapt the list to include emails eventually if it's a really, really if it's a really bad problem that continues. All right. So tonight, David and I are going to talk about integrity. It's going to be not controversial or very controversial. We haven't decided yet. We'll see what happens. But I'm going to take a quick break here. Let me see. And we're going to come right back, and I'm going to talk to David about the very, very important, I don't know, you can't call it a soft skill. It's not a soft skill. It applies to soft skills for sure, but it's a main core value of human beings. It's integrity, and we're going to talk about how it's tested and how it's displayed in HVAC along with a few other things, but we'll be right back in about 30 seconds. Refrigeration Technologies makes some of the best HVAC chemicals around, and that includes wet rag heat blocking putty that prevents your vital system components from being damaged while you're brazing. Also, there's Nylog, gasket and thread sealant, a variety of uses including sealing up flares, gaskets, and other HVAC joints and connections. Last but not least, there's Viper Aerosol Cleaner. I use it on evaporator coils. It foams up beautifully, does a great job cleaning. So if you need anything in the HVAC chemical arena, choose Refrigeration Technologies. You can find out more at refrigetech.com and purchase at truetechtools.com. All right, we are back, and I have David here. It's great because you guys can't see this great preparation I give people. It's like, it's going to be 10 seconds. And then it turns out to be like 25 seconds because I misjudged how long the commercial actually is. But welcome back, David, to Shop Talk.
Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it, Zach. Good
evening,
everybody.
Good. You must be good because you've been on here like 10 times,
I like it.
Yeah, people are going to think you're the host. If they watch certain episodes, they'll be like, oh, David's hosting.
I think they know better than that.
You think they should know who the host is, but you never know.
I guarantee you they do.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. David, I hope you've been doing well. What you been up to since COVID is kind of wrapping up now? Are you getting back to more of the normal life yet as far as teaching?
We've been doing a whole lot of private classes. For about the past 2 months, though, I've been mainly writing, developing content, that sort of thing. The whole month of March, I was pretty much on the road, so that was kind of cool. I got to go to Brian's event I think it was the second week of March, and speak down there. Met a lot of great people down there. It was like normal. It was so refreshing just to walk in and everybody be themselves, see smiling faces instead of masks. It was really cool. So the live part and that's what I thrive on. Talking to a camera is great because you can communicate, but there's just something about being there with people. And it was really good. It was a really bright spot in my month. So, but I've been writing, trying to develop content, getting things ready for the fall, so that hopefully when we start to open back up live training again, everything will be rocking and rolling and moving forward.
Do you think the tide has changed now and we're heading in that direction?
I do.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to come out stronger and better because of it.
I think so too. So you've been doing a lot of writing. So you say you like doing the live, like right there where you're with people sort of training. So where does writing fall in with that? Is that just like a necessary thing that you do, or is it a passion?
I like to write because what writing does is it proves how sloppy I think, and it makes it refine it. That's why some people don't like to write, because like, oh man, I really think sloppy. But it causes me to. It's just a creative thing that I like doing, and I don't publish everything I do. So I do my own stuff for me, but then I do, of course, I get paid to write. So there is the content that I put out there, stuff I put out in trade publications, of course, for free for guys to be able to take and read. But it's just my way of contributing and trying to give back. Take what's little bits in here and pass it on so that others can use it and benefit from my mistakes, if you will.
I don't think people understand how hard what you're talking about is, because trying to write, just like trying to teach. And somebody told me this one time, says, you want to see how much you know, then explain it to somebody. Explain it to someone who doesn't know. And I think is that sort of what you're getting at with the writing? You have to kind of articulate your idea and make sure you actually know what it is you're talking about.
It forces me to make it simple. I'm always aiming for simple, and always trying to, the filter that seems to have worked the best for me is I try to write things from a way that I wish I had known them when I was getting into this. I try to go that simple. I mean, you can complicate anything. You can talk in abstract phrases and sparkling generalities, and everybody's going, oh, what'd you say? Or you can boil it down to the basics. And that's what I do with a lot of things. Sometimes I'm accused of making things too simple. And if I do that, great. That means I succeeded.
Yeah, I think that's, if I were to have to say what your strength was, just that is one of them that I would mention. Just being able to say something, and I think most of our viewers go, I understand that. Like, I get the impression sometimes with teachers, and this is a minority, I'm sure, but they're demonstrating how intelligent they are instead of trying to convey the idea to somebody.
That's not teaching. That's ego getting in the way. Teaching is about focusing on a student. Absolutely. It's focusing on what they're for. It's not about us. It's about, giving them something that they can take and use and be successful with. If I do that, if somebody takes something from anything that I've written or taught, and they go and they do it, and they're successful with it, and they make a profit from it so that they can benefit their careers and also their families, then I've done my job. That's why I got out of contracting in the first place, is to try to contribute like that.
And you've been a very popular guest on this show, and I think that's the reason why it is. Because across the spectrum of whoever we have in here, whether it's 20-year people or 1-year people, they always get something out of it, whether it just be a fresh look at something or a look at something where they can actually understand and break it down in their head, which is good. Because I hate being made to feel like I'm an idiot, basically. So someone who can make me feel like I'm intelligent or feel like I can grasp an idea. And if you do grasp an idea, you're often proud of yourself and continue with trying to increase your knowledge.
You're right. That's one of the benefits, I guess, of being a boss's son. There are some boss's sons that, they'll we're going to talk about integrity, and I know boss's sons will come into that at some point. But I was one of the boss's sons who tried. I had to work really hard to do the simple things that some guys did. And I think it was at Brian's conference that I mentioned I was the kid that pushed on the pool door for 20 seconds before I finally figured out I had to do the opposite. But I think that's been a blessing for being able to break things down, because I remember what it was like when you see these really complex terms thrown out and you're like, what's that mean? And people have the same questions. That's how I got started writing, was to try to take complex things and break it down to a form that it made sense to me. And who'd ever thought I'd get paid a living to do it? So
yeah, I know, it's pretty awesome.
It's weird how things work out.
I'm going to mention that all three of us that are going to be on the show tonight, Joe later and both of us, we're all boss's sons. Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. And Joe can comment on that when he comes in here. Because as he told me before the show, we're going to talk about warranty stuff. Joe's like, my warranty stuff is very simple. Now I feel pressure to come up with new content. Joe has forced me to raise the bar here. So I'm just going to dump interview stuff from you onto Joe. But we're going to talk about integrity. Why? Okay, let's start with the definition of integrity. We can probably go to a dictionary and find a definition. What is your definition of integrity?
I'm going to have to keep it simple, because if you look at the definition in Merriam-Webster's or Oxford's, it's probably going to be confusing. The one thing I think about with integrity is call me a combustion guy, but heat exchangers. When people start to talk about cracks or breaches in heat exchangers, they'll say that the heat exchanger's integrity is incomplete. The integrity has been breached. So when I think about integrity, I think about completeness. And you're complete. So
that's absolutely. That's actually what it's
when
like.
I look at that, if someone has an issue with their integrity, there's a chink or a crack in it that needs to be fixed. So that's kind of the way I look at things. And it's my simplified definition of integrity is doing what you say you're going to do when you're going to say you're going to do it. Just being dependable, doing the right things.
I like that your definition is taking something very almost mechanical, like the integrity of a hull of a ship, is how you came at it, like a structural thing instead of like an abstract thing, like an emotional thing, which to me makes it very relatable to our people because we're mechanically minded people. So
you could do it with a leak test. I mean, for brazing. I mean, it could be a vacuum integrity test. Anything along that line, anything that degrades or it has a flaw in it is something where there's a chink in the integrity or the integrity's been broken. And you're right. A lot of times we make it abstract. We make it this thing where you think you have to wear a white robe and, sing Kumbaya and all this stuff. It's not, and there's nothing fancy like that. It's just being the best version of yourself that you can be. And nobody's ever going to achieve it. It's just trying to get a little bit better every single day. Take and learn something every single day.
Well, it seems attainable when you come at it your way. When you put an abstract on it, it becomes vague and almost like an idea you can't reach, which I like that you made it sort of an attainable goal. So
it's a mindset. It really is. It's how you think. And this is just my opinion. There's some people that may disagree with me. That's cool. But I think for where a lot of people struggle with is they think that they should be perfect now. And that if they're not perfect, there's something wrong with them. I think that's one side of the pendulum swings to. The other side is one that's, hey, I'm growing every single day. And if I keep putting one foot in front of the other, I'll get better every day. And you keep focusing on that. And that effort compounds over a period of time. And I think that's what happens with integrity. You build something up, you strengthen it, and it gets better and stronger.
All right, let's talk about integrity development in a way here. We have a new technician coming to the field. At some point, we were all technicians, installers that were very new in the field, and we start out. Let's say we're this white robe person. We're perfect because we just arrived. All right, and we're going to be presented challenges that are going to either show that we have a lack or a breach, or we persevere past. Yeah. Now, what are some of those initial challenges that you can think of in situations that would cause either a break or a proof that you actually have integrity?
Well, you bring up a really good point, because the first place that integrity really has to start is with yourself.
Absolutely.
We tend to forget that we have to internalize it. When you start trying to rationalize stuff and you start trying to make excuses and you lie to yourself, you become your own worst enemy. So when you're fixed like that, if you're going, oh, it's somebody else's fault, or, it's somebody else that did this, or, well, I did this because such and such, and you start making excuses, you're lying to yourself. And we become our own worst enemy. So the first thing you got to do is you got to have integrity with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You got to believe in yourself. Don't lie to yourself. That's, I think, the first thing that you have to do with integrity. Is a lot of times we know what to do. It's just a matter that we're not doing it. That I really think that's what a lot of this boils down to. So, I mean, you think of some of the situations that we run into that can challenge it for residential technicians that may be on the call. I mean, there's a lot of times that you're in homes that, I mean, people's belongings or possessions are sitting out, and, I mean, you could do anything. So there's a level of trust there that they have with us. And I think when you start to look at situations and issues like that, you're dealing with some form of a temptation. And what happens is you're really revealing what's on the inside. It's called I think they call it the orange test. When you squeeze it, what's inside comes out. So if it's an orange and you squeeze it, orange juice should come out. What's revealed on the outside should be what comes out on the inside. But if you squeeze the orange and crap comes out, then you were really a turd all along. And that's what happens is when you're under pressure, when you get squeezed, what's inside comes out. And that's how I see integrity. So when there's a temptation, when you don't think you're going to get caught, or, and I'm speaking to owners of companies here, if you don't have accountability to your people, that's when integrity will show up, or lack of it. Doing what needs to be done when nobody's watching, or not doing it.
I think if I'm thinking about this correctly, I'm thinking that in an owner's position, you almost have more leeway to have a lack of integrity and get away with it. Because if you have a person in the field, and I don't know if this is right, because we both been, like I said, we're boss's sons, which meant you had a connection with the boss. So if you didn't run the company, you at least knew the guy who did. And I've been the brand new person, and I made these, and you know what? It's as small as compromise that should not have been made. And this is what I mean. Like, I've been on a call, and this is the no time compromise. I don't have time to do this right now. So instead of taking the grade off the unit and washing the coil this way, I'm going to leave the grade on the unit and either not wash the coil, blow it out real quick with, whatever, or, which I've never done in my life. I don't know why I said that. I'm not blowing out coils with anything. Yeah, with nitrogen, because I like spending money. Or, just rinsing it from the outside and letting all the crap fall out in the middle of the unit. It's things like that, and no one ever finds out. So I think that the challenge is when you're going to get away with something, you're positive, do you do it or not? I think that's the question.
And that's the rationalizing. You get into what's called situational ethics. And sometimes you'll hear people talk about business ethics. Well, we're in business. We do ethics right. Business ethics, situational ethics, they're all BS. There's ethics, period. Who you are is who you are. Whether it's at work, at home, you are who you are. There is no switch that you flip once you go to work and it's all, hey, I'm an honest person now, but when I go home, I'm going to be a drunk. It doesn't work like that. If you're a drunk at home, you're a drunk at work. You just do a good job covering it up.
Yeah. I think you can compartmentalize stuff to a certain degree, but it bleeds through. It's like my buddy Joe.
Just remember the orange test. When you're squeezed, what's inside comes out.
I was gonna compare it to because Joe was talking about these dampers that bleed through air. Eventually, something's gonna get through, and whatever we'll call it, we'll be very clandestine, Joe, and say, if you're listening, and say the fruits of your being will come to notice from everybody. They will be able to say, oh, wait a second, that guy, he did just skip doing A, B, or C. Wasn't he supposed to check something else, but he just left? Did you think we forgot? Because I know that happens all the time, because I've done that, because I've done things that I'm not proud of, and I've said, yeah, we're going to check this thing right here, we're going to do this right here, and then we're going to leave. Of course, we'll get paid and stuff, and then skip that, because no one will ever know that I skipped that.
There's a difference. If it's a choice that you're making, and you're saying, I'm going to intentionally skip this, then that's wrong. However, I know there are a ton of times that I've gotten tied up on stuff and I just forget. There was nothing intentional about it. That's why I had to become such a checklist person, is because I got so many things running through my head that I had to. Tony Doyle, a guy who used to work at NCI, called it the demented gazelle. You're jumping around all over the place, and you just forget. Then to me, that's just a matter of forgetfulness. There's not an integrity thing there. It's just you got too much stuff going on in your head. Well, I think the motive has to be considered, the motivation for why you're doing what you're doing. You're right. And I think honestly, what I meant is actually I made the decision to skip something. So I would have been in that category. And I perfectly and everybody
upfront.
has. Everybody has done that. So, we're talking about integrity. One of the things I don't want anybody on this call to think is that I'm sitting here, I'm the model of integrity. Guys, I make mistakes all the time. I mean, there's a big difference between making a mistake and trying to cover it up, making excuses for it and blaming others, versus saying, yeah, man, I messed that up. I apologize. I'm going to do better next time. That's growth. Everybody makes mistakes.
I was under the impression that you never made a mistake. That's why I made this interview.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
Well,
I screw up regularly.
You're right, though. I mean, I don't want the appearance to think, because obviously I made a lot of videos. You guys can see my mistakes. They're out there. The ones I didn't even know were mistakes that you so eloquently pointed out a few times. So obviously we make mistakes, but the purpose, at least on my end, for doing this is to build people up so they can identify and maybe overcome that urge, which is a very real thing, to cut corners and do things that aren't the best for your customer or even yourself, because all this stuff is detrimental to yourself, I think, when you make these decisions. And just give you maybe a little bit of encouragement and strength to overcome those things, because there'll be something tomorrow that I should have done that I don't do. But maybe we work together, we can kind of get past that. Right.
Well, and if you do something, own it. Own it right then. Take full ownership of it, and then work to make it right. And we talk about rationalizing and lying to ourselves. I want you to consider this. And anybody that's on the call, consider this. I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to think about it. You guys know I'm big on thinking about what's said, not necessarily agreeing with me. I want you to think about when the alarm clock goes off. If you reach over and you smack the snooze button and you lay back down for 10 minutes. Think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that an integrity issue?
Interesting.
Are you lying to yourself? Because you're saying, I'm going to get up at a certain time. It may seem extreme, but I want you just to consider it. Are you lying to yourself? You're not going to get up at that time. You're starting off the day lying to yourself.
That's an interesting thought right there, because it's true. You've set a goal, and then you've rejected the goal first thing in the morning. And now,
Correct.
Is that going to be the first of a long line of goals that are rejected because you've set a precedent of rejecting goals even on a small subconscious level? That's interesting.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
I can definitely see that happen.
It sounds simple, but you're programming yourself. And it's the little things like this. It's the little things that build on one another like this.
Well, I hear the song Slow Fade in my mind playing in the background now. The step-by-step, it's basically that this family falls apart because little decisions get made over and over again.
Yep.
And I can definitely see that. I've seen that play out for me. And what's funny is trying to explain this, you probably could do a better job. The idea I'm trying to convey is that you can be part of this process and have it happen over and over again, yet be aware of it, and almost realize that this is happening. But it's like swimming against the current. After a certain point, you're just taken away by it, and you feel like it has permanence. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we do this. So maybe people feel like, no, it's not permanent. I can reverse this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why so many times we tend to disasterize the problems that we have. The problem may be like this big, but we make it into this. We tend to disasterize things. All we have is like right now. And all you've got are the choices that you make right now and moving forward. There's a lot of people that they'll live looking in the rearview mirror. They'll say, 20 years ago, man, I was an alcoholic. I was this, I was that. Great, that was 20 years ago. Forget about it. What are you now? Have you grown? Have you moved forward? To me, that's integrity. If you say, I made mistakes, here's where I'm at because of that. Here's how I'm taking what I messed up on 20 years ago, and I'm helping others learn from those mistakes. We mentioned writing at the beginning of this. That's one of the big reasons why I write. Like, guys, here is where I screwed up. Don't do this. Here's what you can learn from my mistake, so it doesn't cost you the massive amount of money that it cost me.
And we talk about this stuff, and it seems like a moral issue. It's like a moral undertones. But I think that actually accruing knowledge, like you say, you write. So if someone reads up, they learn about the trade, and we'll talk about the trade specifically, that will actually combat this. Because I think that knowledge being in your head saying, all right, we know we're supposed to do this, but if you don't know why, okay, whatever. But if you know why, then you say, okay, I need to do this now because this happens. It's almost like your morality is assisted along by just this practical knowledge almost.
Well, you've got a purpose for doing it. You understand the motivation for why you're doing something. That's one of the biggest reasons. I talk a lot about airflow. I've been on your show multiple times talking about static pressure. Like, why do you measure it? So that's why I break it down into simple things like, just like a medical physician would measure your blood pressure, why it's so important along that line. Just different things like that. You have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. If somebody says, go clean a coil, great. Why? Well, because if it's dirty, you're going to end up killing the compressor. Oh, okay. Now it's starting to click.
Absolutely.
So there's always a cause and effect in everything that we do. And if we understand the cause and we also understand what the effect is, if we don't do something, now we've got the motivation to make the right choice and make the right decision.
So when I'm listening to you say that, I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is a great argument for test in, test out service calls, test in, test out commissioning. So you see what it was before and after, and you have that proof in your brain because you can read it 20 times, which is helpful. But if you've seen it play out, then you can say, I have to do this, or we're not going to get from whatever, 275 head on a R22 unit, rinse the coil and get to a 245, which is a decent difference. Mm-hmm. It's not going to change the world, and maybe they wouldn't even notice, but you can now see that it's beneficial, at least.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that drew me to testing, was because there were no smoke and mirrors. There's no fancy sales talk. It is what it is. You do the testing, you do it right. The results speak for themselves. You've got the data. There's no opinions. It's just, it is what it is. It's transparent. And the customer's got a choice. They can either address what's there or they can choose not to. And that's when you test your own systems. You've got that decision to make. And I think that's where integrity comes in. Testing doesn't give you integrity. Testing amplifies whether you have integrity or not. And when we were confronted with it, we always told our customers, and we believe this, that we put in the best systems, that, everything that we did was designed by, well, I won't mention we did it by approved design methods. And we told customers they got self-balancing duct systems because that's what we believed, because of the design methods we were using. Well, we went through this long form and we should have this much air through this duct. We didn't know. We didn't measure. So when we started measuring, we had some serious questions to ask ourselves. First thing was, we blamed the test instruments.
Yeah, that's right.
There's that integrity thing. Blaming, making excuses. Well, we've done it like this for years. There can't be anything wrong with this. It's got to be the test instruments. Oh, or maybe it's unveiling something we just couldn't see before.
What happens? All right, let's talk about like coworkers, not test instruments any longer. What happens when you have a legitimate gripe with a coworker, and I won't say it won't be a critical thing. The guy's not going to get fired or something like that.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Because if they've done something and it's going to reflect poorly on you in some way, how do you handle that?
You go straight to them.
Go straight to the employee.
You go straight to them. Whether you work with them, it may escalate. But here's what I have found is that when you generally go to someone and you express their concerns, first you've got to let them know that you're concerned about them. If you don't have a relationship with them, if they don't think that you care and you're just trying to point out things that are wrong with them, this is probably going to blow up in your face. But if they know that you're concerned and you're saying, hey, I'm seeing something I'm concerned about, let's chat about this, they're going to appreciate it. The way not to handle it, do not go and start getting everybody else involved and start making it a he said, she said. If you want the situation to blow up, get a lot of chefs in the kitchen. Keep it mano a mano, one-on-one, and talk to that person about it and give them the chance to make it right. I'll go back to the situation the first time I ever spoke publicly at an HVAC conference. In a minute, or no, it wasn't a minute, maybe 45 minutes. The guys that were there with me counted that I said the phrase, the thing is, 35 times in 45 minutes. I started off the sentences with the thing is 35 times in 45 minutes. They didn't say anything to me in front of everybody. They didn't embarrass me. They didn't make me to try to make me feel bad. Gentleman's name's Paul Wiebolt. He's probably one of the smartest guys I know out of the state of Texas. Great design guy, great airhead. And he pulled me aside and he said, Dave, I need to talk to you. He said, are you aware that you said the phrase, the thing is, 35 times in 45 minutes? I had no idea. But he was courageous enough. He cared enough about me and had enough courage to come to me and talk and say, here's a mistake that I saw that you need to know about. Because a lot of times we don't know. And it just takes somebody that cares enough to come to us and say, here's what I'm seeing. Let's look at how to fix it. Not pointing fingers, not blaming, trying to get the upper hand or saying, ha ha, I caught you in a mistake or something like that. No soapboxes, no pedestals, anything like that, but truly being concerned, wanting to see somebody grow and get better. Go one-on-one and have their best intentions. Always try to assume the best about somebody until they give you a reason to think otherwise.
When you said
too many times we're trying to find the worst in people instead of looking for the best in them. I mean, we find fault like there's a stinking prize for it instead of looking for what's right with people.
But why? Why do we do that? This is so much more than air conditioning. Yeah, negative mindset.
It's negative mindset.
I always thought that whenever my wife watches, and I'm sitting in the same room, so I don't know if you say I'm watching it as well, but these housewife shows on TV where all the housewives are yelling at each other, and a lot of times they're drinking or beyond that. And
yeah, that always helps things.
Yeah, they always like to amplify their issues as well. And the impression I get is we love to judge other people and elevate ourselves above them. That's a fun thing for people to do because it makes them feel good about themselves, even though it might be for a short time period. It's artificial as well. And when you were talking about that, I was thinking about a guy I really like. His name's Jordan Peterson. He's like a thinker. He's like he's a professor. He's kind of a celebrity now, but he says that. He says go directly to the person because you're looking at a short-term conflict and a long-term peaceful situation. And the reverse is true if you try to do an in-run around that. You have long-term conflict, especially if you're involving other people, because you just get into a mess and then the whole company's embroiled in this stuff. But it's so hard to do that, to go right up to somebody, because that's where the conflict is at. It's easier to go to someone else who you can find to agree with you. So that's tough. That's hard.
Confrontation is tough. Confrontation is tough. And what you've got to do is you got to stiffen your backbone. And this goes to integrity. You got to do the right thing. You got to be a man or be a woman and go to them and go to that person and just tell them what needs to be told.
I like that. That's earthy wisdom with David Richardson. I like that.
Yeah, that comes from my dad. I'm not smart enough to figure that stuff out.
Mr. Richardson, then.
I just paid attention. Yeah, those are Carlisms.
Carlisms. I like that. But it's like it's like plain knowledge. It's like that's like the answer.
Those
to this
are
is
Richardson
go to the
rules.
Richardson's 12 rules for life. We'll merge you and Jordan Peterson together. That's his book. That's funny. But it's like a basic thought. It's like perfectly obvious that you should go to the issue and address the issue. But I guess we're just big chickens. I guess that's what it is.
That's a lot of it. We don't like conflict.
Yeah.
The other part of that is we like to complicate things so we won't do them. Most things are really easy, but we complicate them so that we won't do them, or so we'll procrastinate instead of just doing the hard thing, which is usually the simple thing.
You've mentioned noble obstacles before on this show. That sounds like we're getting into that same area.
That is a noble obstacle. We make things complicated so that we won't do them.
Well, how occluded is our life that we're going to have obstacles technically, obstacles emotionally, obstacles in the workplace? So with going straight at something, you can really solve a lot of life problems right there.
Yeah.
It's just going to be uncomfortable potentially for a few minutes or longer.
Mike Tyson used to have a saying, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face.
I remember that.
And if I don't know if you've ever been in any fights or not, but if you've ever been in a fight and you get punched in the face, your focus is 100% on the person that punches you in the face. You're not worried about what you're going to do later that night. You're not worried about anything else. You're completely focused on what's going on right then in that confrontation. And I'm thoroughly convinced that if we treated a lot of our problems like a punch in the face, we get them taken care of much more directly.
Well, and also you have to be willing to punch people in the face to get out of these problems. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, and also with a punch in the face, after it's done, you find out it didn't hurt near as bad as what you anticipated sometimes. Well, sometimes it does hurt really bad.
Yeah. I can remember some times in middle school where there's some scuffles, and I might have been a nerd back then who was very skinny and easily attacked by other people that weren't. And let's not get into it, actually. That was a long time ago, and I'm much different now. To battle back from that sort of thing. So we talked about integrity. I want to talk about the situations that tested again, because I want to talk about where you should expect to receive these quote unquote tests, so that you can be at least aware of them and combat them and try to overcome these things to kind of make life easier on yourself in the long run. Now, what have you found, maybe personally, what have you run up against in HVAC that's caused these tests to appear?
It could be, my goodness. Usually it ties down to something personal. For most people, where you're going to see some form of an integrity issue, it's going to come to money. It will almost always start with money, as in you don't have enough or you poorly manage it. I'm not going to turn this into financial basics, but if you can't manage $100, you can't manage $100,000. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's not a matter of having enough money; it's having enough insight to do what you can with the money that you have. So money is a big one, I think, as far as spending it on the wrong things. Health issues are another one. When you get into health, I know money, I think, is probably the biggest one. Probably number 2 is going to be family. Yeah. Dealing with family issues, being unhappy and looking for maybe even a relationship outside of your own marriage, those sorts of things. And we're looking to try to fill voids. Those are integrity issues.
Now, let's talk about this in place. You talk about money. Now, let's take that to work with us then. All right, if you're having issues with money, and I've had issues with money, and let me be perfectly honest with people, David and Joe. Well, Joe left again, but the people in the chat. I see Joe was sitting in his chair before, and now he's gone. But when I was having money issues, I realized that there are certain shortcomings that I have that I need to be aware of, and I'm not going to get too booky on y'all, but they said if you have a problem and you have something that causes problems, I'm going to summarize here, get rid of it. And it says cut it off. If your arm causes you a problem, cut it off was the metaphor. So I don't get credit cards at all because I ran credit cards up when I was in my 20s, and I stay away from them for better or for worse. It's hard renting a car sometimes, even when you have money if you don't have a credit card. But I stay away from it because I had so many problems with it. I became aware of it, and I know I'm going to get myself into trouble. So I just cut off that part of my life. Like I said, there's ramifications for it, but I think it's the same thing. If you go to work and you're having money issues, which I was having, you're so tempted to find things, and you could probably sell it. And, like you said, with the heat exchanger crack, I bet 95% of the time, if you wanted to sell somebody that there was a problem with a heat exchanger, you could find a way to sell it to them if you really tried.
Yep.
So, and I know that's a big issue because, every nick and scratch is a cracked heat exchanger. Mm-hmm. Every weird noise or flame flicker is a crack, oxygen or air getting in from the blower into the heat exchanger. I mean, in the trade, that's where I see it right there. Just you can create it. You can get away with it. I think you can do it. If you put your mind to it, you can do it if you want to.
That is why second opinions are so popular in our industry, is because we offer opinions instead of offering first-time facts.
Right.
That's one of the things that the measurements give. Now, you back on the money thing, something that happened to me when I was first working for my dad part-time. There were 4 of us that were eating lunch together because we were all doing a pretty large change out. And one of the guys, we were sitting there eating lunch. He didn't have any lunch, but he had 2 packs of smokes sitting on the table. Of course, I was a 16-year-old kid, and I was like, hey, I got money. I'll buy you some lunch. The lead tech that was with me grabbed me by the arm, and he said, no, you're not. He said this right in front of me and the other 2 guys. And he pointed at him, and he said he made a choice to smoke his lunch, and now he has to live with it. And I never forgot that. That's all about choices.
That's right, because obviously he had enough money sitting right there in the 2 packs. Even back then, that was at least $4 or $5. Combine those 2 packs. That's interesting. A lot of people would call that cold, but it's true. People have the guts to say stuff. And that was the tough love.
That was the tough love. And that's why I said I don't know how this is going to go, because when it comes to integrity and issues like this, I try to keep things simple. And for myself, I have to hold myself the most accountable. I got to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm not crossing it. Yeah. And just, that's where it has to be. And that's what we all have to do. And so many times we keep moving that line instead of saying, here's the line. If you step over it, you're going to get punched in the face. And because we don't hold ourselves accountable, we keep moving things. And I don't know if you guys are one of the best things I ever started doing was tracking my habits, tracking calories, that kind of thing. I mean, it sounds a little extreme, but
Oh no, man, I got it right here on my
if
watch.
you, well, there's a saying that I've heard before that if you don't test, you're just guessing. And that doesn't just apply to HVAC. It also applies to life.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly how I feel. Any success that I've had health wise here in the last few months is because I had data to look
Exactly.
at. Because I was just guessing. I said, I don't know how many calories this pizza is, and I'm not checking. Okay, I can have a whole pizza then because I have no idea what's going on.
That's right.
And it's the same thing with the testing thing. I mean, I did a pretty good job. How do you know? I don't know, but I could have.
Yep.
I have no proof either way right now. If I leave, I don't have proof either way. But if I stay here, I might prove I'm an idiot. So I'm going to leave.
You've got to have something that you can quantify each day. And what happens is if you miss that check mark or you miss that goal, then it'll either wear you down or you're eventually going to say, I'm drawing that line in the sand. I'm not going any farther than this. That's it. I'm done. And that's what we've got to do. To me, integrity, the context that we're talking about this, Zach, is we have to come up to that point to where we're saying enough is enough. No more. I'm getting better. And it may take a long time. We've both talked about our health issues on the show before. And, I dropped 42 pounds because my doctor, he said, you're going to have to get on insulin unless you make a change. That was my line in the sand. And I said, I'm not going there. So I did whatever it took. I mean, I was out hustling a crack addict to try to get better. It's what I had to do.
Yeah.
When you're shoved in the corner, you do what needs to be done to make yourself better. And so many times we keep moving where the corner is, so we don't ever get any better. And then we wonder why.
Yeah. And we're both in our 40s now. So go in and
barking
having
at 50,
to,
man.
But, oh, yeah. Wow. Yeah, you're a little bit ahead of me, I guess. I'm going to call you 42.
Thanks.
Well, we're both in our 40s, so treating your own health issues gets harder and harder. So if you have a precedent that you've gone by, like people who are younger than us that are listening to this, if you can set a precedent now, it's gonna have a great framework for later in life. It's the same thing with everything we're talking about. If you set that precedent early, it's a lot easier to stay on track. And so many things I haven't. It's been so hard. I've done so many things that make me cringe when I look back, either out of ignorance or out of choice. There's some ignorance things where I look back and like you're testing now, like you've mentioned on the show before, like you've gone back some of the stuff you did previously, and you found something that didn't work, and you tested and you realized that you did it wrong the first time. And I've done that a lot of times. Yeah. So and it's difficult to deal with that because, truthfully, you have to go to the customer and say, yeah, the first time we set this up, I did it incorrectly. Is that how you go about that? How do you go about coming back and finding a mistake that you did? Maybe it's let's make it ambiguous. Let's make it 5 years, so it's a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
What do you do with that customer? It's kind of hard to say. Well, we screwed this up.
3 words
years ago.
Served us well. We didn't know.
Plausible deniability.
We didn't know, and because we didn't, we did the best job for you that we could at that time based off the knowledge that we had. Since then, we've gone to classes. We now know better, and we're trying to make it better. And that's one of the biggest obstacles for people to get in our trade, to get into measurements, because they're so afraid that their customers are going to say, well, you need to do this work for free. I can't ever remember a customer. There may have been one, but customers didn't say, we want you to do the work for free. They were glad we were trying to get better. It was like my dad, when he had cancer, they would have had to have opened him up 5 years previously, where before now they made like 2 little 1/4-inch incisions and did it with a laser.
Yeah.
Technology changes. The things that we have today, they change. We didn't have, 10 years ago, did we have Bluetooth test instruments? Things have changed and gotten better. Diagnostics have increased, so we can see things now that we didn't know about. That's where you have to get past that growth mindset versus that, fixed and growing mindset versus the growing mindset. The fixed is you think you have to know everything. I didn't know anything about airflow when I came out of vocational school. I knew it should be right. That was it. Nobody talked about balancing it. Nobody talked about measuring static pressure, checking fan airflow. What impact, we knew a dirty blower was bad. Check airflow with this. Use the 5-digit airflow meter.
Oh, yeah.
That was it. It was pretty simple, but you don't know.
Well, you brought up a good point. I'm thinking about, in my mindset, it was the fixed, what you were describing as fixed. If at any point you did something wrong and you increased in knowledge, you're directly responsible to go back and fix it. That was how I was thinking, but you're right. You're absolutely right, because we're always on an upward trajectory, theoretically, as far as knowledge, or we should be. And if we were to put that mindset into action and say we had to go back and fix something, then therefore every day we'd be going back to the previous day. So I absolutely agree with you there. Once I not rationalize it out and think it through, and that might be comforting to a lot of the people watching the show, because there's probably a couple other people thinking the same way.
And some of the things that I mentioned regarding mindset, there's actually, I'm big on books. There's a book on it, and it's been out probably 20 something years, and it's called Mindsets. I think it was a PhD. Her name was Carol Dweck that wrote it. She was a psychologist, and it's interesting. If you're a parent with kids, especially if they are in sports, you need this book. It's one of my top 5. And I'm very selective on the top 5 books. I talked about it here before, but that Mindset is one of those top 5 books by Carol Dweck.
So
you should get it.
I guess I got the last one.
Or get the audiobook if you don't want to read. I know a lot of reading is kind of something that people don't do anymore, but if you like audiobooks, get it on Audible or something. I like having something physical in my hand that I can hold on to, something tangible. To me, listening to books is like drinking steak. It doesn't work.
No, I read out of the actual books. I've done both. The last time you told me about a book was How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I actually got that as an audiobook and listened to it because I had a free sample from whatever the source is. I forget what I think it's called. But now I usually read from the actual copy of the book now, because I've been sent a few of these manuals from Jason Objute, sent me stuff I've read from him, and it's been really good. And something about having it tangibly in front of you is beneficial, I think, especially for us 40-year-old people and higher.
I like making notes. I like writing down notes on what I read so I can help remember it. I always try to write an
You want to be
action
best
step
friends,
down
David?
Well, I write down what I try to get. Here's the way I look at a book. If I can't take an action step from what I've read that day and go do it, then it wasn't a good read.
I think that's a good rule of thumb.
I know we're getting on a different subject, but that mindset, there's a lot more on that than just what I've kind of alluded to today, and that's a lot of where it's not original to me. Nothing's original. It's we all take inspiration from different sources and then package it up with our own stuff, and that's where it kind of grows from.
That's right. That was a theme last week when I was talking to Craig. There's nothing new under the sun, and that's a very old idea. Yeah, so we're just, everything we say is just, we can't take credit for any of it, which actually leads to humility if you really think about it. If you can't take credit for any bit of knowledge that you're talking about, then there's no need to boast in it either, because you didn't create any of it. So it makes us humble if we think about it. Well, if we force ourselves not to think about it, we can remain prideful, and
just
that's enjoyable.
How you use it.
Yeah. What's another book, since we're talking about books? I mean, what do you suggest? Because we're talking about a different category. I know we're talking about more psychological. I don't want to call self-help, because self-help sounds cheesy. I don't like that.
Yeah, self-help is nothing but guys dealing in dopamine. That's all it is. They're giving you a positive rush. You need books you can go actually do something with, and that's one of them. I
think since Joe's not on here, I'm going to go ahead and say I think his favorite book is Live Your Best Life Now. Is that right, Joe? I think he's shaking his head no. Okay, that's incorrect. All right. All right. Let's see. We talked about some books. Oh, yeah. Okay. What's one more book? Tell us one more book from your top 5 besides the is it Dale Carnegie? Is that his name?
Yeah, Dale Carnegie.
Did I say Carnegie? What the world? Okay.
Some people pronounce it like that. It's just I'm probably missing it. Keep in mind, I'm from Kentucky, man.
I think because I never said Carnegie Hall
in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're right. What's one more? What's one more that you haven't written? You don't want to cheat and give your own books out. It's too self-serving.
Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, Jocko, he has a great podcast. All right.
And interesting. Actually, don't get Extreme Ownership. He's got a book called Leadership Field. It's a Leadership and Tactics Field Manual. It's a little green book. It's a short, easy read.
I like that. That's like a whole different area right there, different type of person and everything. Oh, okay, cool.
Yep, but it's the same principles, except they weren't dealing in crawl spaces and attics. They were dealing with, dying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely different level when you're talking about Navy SEALs.
Oh, that's going to be interesting on multiple levels. All right, good one. All
Yeah.
right, good.
Anything from Jocko's good. He's also got some good kids books. For those of you that have little kids.
I didn't know that.
He
has kid books. He don't seem like the kind of guy who would have kid books. That's interesting.
And they're about instilling, getting in integrity. We have a job as parents to raise our kids to have backbones. So many of us are raising our kids on the one-eyed wonder, which is the TV, and not taking enough interest in them. His books teach kids how to grow up and be responsible adults and how to actually have a backbone. So instead of, raising up spineless weenies, we're raising up good kids.
That's our hashtag for
good
today,
principles.
guys. Spineless weenies. Hashtag spineless weenies is trending on Twitter right now. I wouldn't know because I don't go on Twitter, but it might be. You never know. So I'm gonna bring us back here to.
Man, we go down some cool rabbit trails.
I know it's part of the show. It's fun, but it's kind of like a typewriter. You have to bring it back and let it go out again, and bring it back again. So, and for the younger techs, typewriters are writing devices. So, okay. What do technicians do when they realize their company is unethical? That's word for word what I wrote, but it's I don't think I can improve upon that. So, if you realize your company, let's go down sales. We always like to hate salespeople. So, let's say we have an actual unethical salesperson. You're working at a company. You don't want to be associated with it. Or do you suck it up? I mean, have you been in a situation in the past? Hopefully not, because you work for your dad.
No, I haven't. And even with NCI, I mean, what I came on with NCI was because I believed in what we do and what we teach, what we talk about. If it's an unethical company, they're doing what's wrong, find a new job.
At all
that
cost,
simple.
Find a new job.
Don't sell your soul.
Yeah, that's another tough situation. You're just talking about removing conflict and removing confrontation. Leaving a job because you don't want to be sucked into that's tough because that's sometimes you're the only person that has a job at your house.
There's plenty of other opportunities out there. Here's what's cool is when you stand up for something like that, other doors will open up. I am a firm believer in that. I have seen it with too many other people. I've seen it with code officials. One specific code official at a Baltimore area that he found out that he was approving stuff that wasn't the way it should be, and now he's a consultant making 3 times what he did when he was a code official.
That's interesting.
But he was one of those, and that's where what we got at earlier. You have to draw that line in the sand. And here's what I'd recommend for everybody on the call right now. If you don't have it, get you a piece of paper. I'm big on lists. Get a piece of paper and make yourself your own 10 commandments. Write down, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to stand for this. I will do this. And just make yourself 10 of them. 10 things that you won't put up with, 10 things that you're going to do, and then do it. Work towards it every day. Pick one a week if you want to. Keep it simple, but make it fun. And that's one of those that should be on that 10 commandments. I am not going to deal with a company that's unethical. That is your line in the sand. You're not crossing it.
What is your moral baseline for making these decisions? Personally, what is your moral baseline?
It's beside your left arm.
I don't want to put words in people's mouth. This is what's beside my left arm. But you always have to have some baseline, no matter who you are, whether you like this thing or not. You have to have some baseline for all the decisions you make. And, we don't want to mix shows together because, as my wife said, that people don't want to hear it. But I would get off on a tangent. I'm still going to do it at the end.
Think of it like a compass. A compass always points north. You have to have something that always points in a certain direction. And that's what I'm getting at about making sure that the line is drawn in the sand or that you're not moving where your back is in the corner. You have to have something that you're going to hold yourself accountable to. Something that always points north.
Hey, I agree with you. 100%, 1,000%. You guys will see later in the show if you stick around.
Yeah. I'm not trying to preach to anybody. Like I said, I make mistakes every day just like everybody else. But here's the trick. If you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up or not. Don't let the mistakes define you.
Yeah, I think I've heard a song along those lines too.
Yep.
If you get knocked down, get up again. Nobody can keep me down. Something like that.
Yeah, something like
I'm
that.
sure. It was an old school song. No, but I agree with you. I mean, you got to have some kind of baseline. I agree with your baseline. I think it's right on the money. I think there's no other, really, to be honest with you.
Yep. Well, people give religion a bad name because of how they handle it. A lot of people have this illusion of perfection that, I'm perfect, I don't make mistakes, and that's not what that book's based on.
No,
that's
a
false precedent.
I agree with you. We could talk about this all night. A large part of
well,
me
it's
says,
integrity.
Let's just
there's
talk
a lot
about
of it
all
in
night.
there.
Yeah, absolutely. It is integrity. I mean, the whole crux of what I'm saying and what you're mentioning here is if you are measuring, let's say you're testing and measuring, you can test and measure in integrity, but you have to have something to test it against. And
correct.
I think it's either going to be tested against family, maybe what your father and mother taught you, tested against your friends, tested against, like I said, the Bible teachings, tested against some other religious teaching, tested against how things are portrayed in media. Mm-hmm. So I choose the Bible, obviously, because I feel like it's the perfect way to measure integrity, is among many other things. But you have to have something that you're measuring against. I think a lot of times, like you say, you're a boss's kid. That might be true of like a father yep. figure. So
let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
Because if there's anybody on this call and you're setting double standards, if you're a boss and your son works for the company and you set a different standard for them than you do, and it could be a boss's daughter. It goes both ways. If you set a different standard for them than you set for everyone else, you are setting your child up for failure. You are setting your child up for everyone in that company to hate them.
Absolutely. I'm glad it was all family where I was concerned, except for a little bit later on, some other people arrived. But how was it in your father's company? Was there a lot of non-family members? Was it just
there were a
that
lot
was
of
family?
non-family members.
How were you perceived by them?
I had to work 5 times as hard to prove myself.
Were you able to prove yourself to them?
I feel like I was. Yeah. But it took me back to that punch in the face again. It took me getting punched in the face, because until it happened, not literally punched in the face, but until there was a certain situation, I'll never forget where I was at and where it was. I'll tell you guys about it. But I was your typical lazy boss's kid. I was coasting along, doing minimum, and not a lot was being said. Dad was running the company, so he probably had no idea. And one of the fellows, I won't mention his name because he may watch this on the podcast later, but if you're listening to this, you know who you are, and I'm still eternally grateful to you for this. He said, David, you know better. He said, you need to get yourself into gear. I won't tell you exactly what he said, but I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
And he said, you need to do what you're capable of doing. You know better. He shamed me right there on the job, man. I was like 19 years old.
Yeah.
And he was right. It made me mad. I was furious. I wanted to fight him. And so what I did was he made me mad, which made me take action. And I'm so thankful that he did it.
Oh, good thing.
So if somebody makes you mad, thank them. Because it's easier not to say something.
I'm probably not going to thank them till the next day, but I will.
Yeah, you won't thank it. Well, sometimes you won't thank them until years later.
Yeah. It's
but at the same time, don't just say something like that to be mean. He said it because he cared.
Absolutely.
He wasn't just being mean. He said it to motivate me.
Well, it's people who don't say anything. They don't care at all.
Yeah. And so that says something. So if you're saying something to get somebody to change for the better, some people need the warm and nurturing. Other people need the punch in the face. I needed the punch in the face. Sometimes I need the warm nurture. We're all a little bit different.
Yeah, there's some intuition required, I guess, in this area.
If you're at a company right now and you're witnessing this, you're seeing a boss who plays favoritism towards their son. They're their children. They're always going to, or their daughters. They're always going to. So what that doesn't do is give you a green light to slack off or act like you're the boss's kid. What it should do is give you the green light to push even harder. Now, that may go against what a lot of people think. They may want to say, well, they're not doing it. Why shouldn't I do it? Why shouldn't I do that? because you're robbing yourself. That's why you shouldn't do it. Don't let others dictate what you do, how you act, or how you think.
Mm-hmm. I think personal responsibility is a big deal.
Own it.
Yeah.
Own it.
And well, if you don't have personal responsibility, like you're saying, if you do blame people, you fall into this giant gray lump of society that is indistinguishable from each other.
Yep.
And doesn't get anywhere in life. Just kind of coasts as one large mass, and just waiting for the next stimulus bill.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, because that's one of the ways that you can typically spot people who are struggling with integrity, because they typically tend to be victims. It's always somebody else's fault. There's always something else they're going to point the finger at. If you want to find somebody with integrity, they're going to own everything. They're going to say, yep, it's on me. I wish I could remember where I heard this. It said, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's not original. It always stuck.
Well, we just assume if it's on this show, it's not original for sure.
No, I heard it somewhere.
Else.
And it's stuck. But I mean, for everybody that's on here, you're going to make mistakes. If you're going to have lapses in judgment. If you do, admit it as soon as it happens.
Yeah, I think that's important to say. You are going to knowingly do things that are wrong.
Yep.
It's going to happen. And like I said, and you know what? Sometimes people don't say anything about it. I've let it go before, and I've gotten away with whatever it was, even if it was minuscule or larger. I'm not going to mention them, but I've gotten away with them. But I always look back on stuff like that, and it stays with me, and it doesn't get rectified. It's almost like one of the things that you never really get rid of, especially if you let it go and it's something big. You don't get rid of it. It can be inspirational. It cause you to change, but you're always going to carry it around like baggage, I think.
Yep. The tricks, you got to do something about it.
Yeah.
We are so many times our own worst enemies. We say stuff to ourselves that we wouldn't say or tolerate from anybody else. I mean, we're just mean to ourselves, and we don't give ourselves any grace. We don't. So if you're beating yourself up over something, don't quit beating yourself up and just take action on it. Just stop doing it. Here's one of the things I found with stress. Stress is caused because you know what to do, but you refuse to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, not doing that.
People talk about stress management. Don't manage it. Get rid of it. Fix it.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, let me ask you something. Right now, as we sit here right now, how much stress do you carry from work?
None.
That's an optimum amount, measure-wise. I don't know how you measure stress, but usually it's by how at ease you are in any given moment. I don't carry any stress from because look at my job. I get to interview other smart people. I say other like I'm smart, but that's not true. I just want to put myself in that category. Me and the other intellectuals of the industry like to talk to each other, and then I get to go do service calls and have a great time doing it. It's a lot of fun. Of course, I work alone, so that kind of, I don't know if you have much experience in that, dealing with people that work alone. But you don't have to carry as much stress. Usually all the stress comes from, or all the decisions. In fact, you can make some very bad decisions because there is no accountability but yourself. So that can put you in a very bad spot. Oh, that's tough. I wish I thought of that earlier in the show. We could have talked about that longer.
Now, that's not to say that there aren't challenges. Every job has a challenge. That's why it's called work. There's always challenges. So, I mean, it's how you approach them. I mean, there's times, some of you on the call may know my boss, Rob Falk. Some of you may not. I tell Rob, I can't believe we get paid to do this. Because there's a very fine line when you do what you love and then you switch and you start getting paid to do it, because now there's an expectation that's placed on that. So, you gotta keep things in context, or it can get real screwy and you can start to hate what you love.
Oh, that's true. I found the same thing, bringing it back to like HVAC install, being on a crew of installers and being one of the install helpers instead of the lead. And just speaking for myself, I used to come up with all these great ideas as an install helper. We should run this duct over here. We should do this. We should do that. But when I became lead, all my ideas became much more scrutinized and measured internally, because I knew that I was now responsible for something. I wasn't the guy, and the other guys were the same way as I was. They're like, hey, we should do this. We should do that. It's like, no, we can't do that. That's ridiculous. But like, we can't. That's a 6-inch duct. This is a 500 square foot room. We're not going to put one 6.
that's why it's so important not to forget where you came from. I know I've talked about Brian's event once already on here, but the first day I didn't have to do anything. And it was so cool to be able to sit there and just listen and just talk to people and just to be a student and listen again. Instead of being the guy who was going to be in front that day, I got to sit with everybody else. I got to take notes like everybody else. And that was so fun.
Who made an impact on you that day? Which
So
one did
many
you hear
people.
that you? I know it's like a bunch of people. Let me choose one, and the other ones are all worse.
There's so many. It would be wrong for me to point it out because it wasn't just the presenters; it was also the people that I met. I met so many people that I've met online, people that I met through your show,
Sure.
and it would be a disservice to try to mention all of them. But our industry is filled with so many good people, and we really we're a small community, and it was just fun to be able to connect in that way, especially with COVID going on. It was huge.
Absolutely.
And it was fun to be a student again, just to take notes and things along that line. I was reminded of a lot of things that I had forgotten. Some of the things, when you do something over and over again, you almost get desensitized to it. You forget how special it is. And some of the presentations reminded me of where I came from. Some of them reminded me of where I got started writing. Others, when I started doing measurements, some of the challenges that I ran into, things that I had forgotten. So it was neat to get back to it. I really, really enjoyed it. So Brian, if you're listening to this, thank you.
Brian, that's the third time we mentioned Brian, and that's our quota for each show, as he's the competition in the podcasting world.
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
No,
I love giving Brian trouble because he's such a good guy. And, he's one of those guys that he has this large company. So, in a way, he's in the crosshairs in a lot of ways. Like, he's the boss man. He's got this large company, and large companies are vilified in a lot of areas of our industry.
Let me tell you, that stigma is not there. You can tell a lot about a company by how the employees click. And watching and interacting with his people there, you could tell there's a team environment. There were people that didn't know who I was there. And I didn't get treated differently by anybody. It was a huge testament to the culture of that company. And I don't think enough can be said about that because I know how hard that is to instill in people. And you could feel it there. So hats off. I would take my hat off, but my hair's a mess. I was working on farm implements before this.
That's okay. This is a trades podcast, so I don't think they care too much about that. That's fine. They're all sitting there in their underwear with like Cheetos on top of their lap and stuff watching this show. And there's a guy out there right now going, that's what I'm doing.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we have a lot of Brian's employees, and I shouldn't have said that's the fourth time. Now I got to pay royalties.
Dude, you broke your rule.
But we have a lot of his guys in our chat. We have Jessica, which you probably met.
I met Jessica.
Yes, I think
she's awesome. Met her husband too. He was sporting one of your shirts.
That's right. Old Craig. Yep.
They're
Old Craig was sporting a shirt. Man,
hi,
awesome.
Jessica.
She's out there. Eric Melee, I think, is out there as well, which is one of his employees. And of course, we've talked to Brian before, and then Nathan, and maybe we'll talk to Bert one day. I don't know if you got to meet the rest of the social media.
I met a bunch. I met a bunch. So many people. I can't even keep the names straight.
Oh, I bet.
So of course, a lot of new acquaintances, old acquaintances.
I'm gonna come down there next year, and I'm gonna wreck that thing. I'm gonna come down there, and I'm gonna be doing my same irreverent interviews that we do here today, because I like to treat people equally as well. So everybody gets asked the same questions, no matter where they are in the industry. Which I enjoy.
Well, I hope integrity topic has helped. I mean, it's something that I don't think we talk about, and I think we tend to put it on a pedestal and think it's something that's unattainable versus, just breaking it down to it's a decision that you're making right now. Do I do the right thing or do I do the wrong thing? And we know what they are. It's just a matter of whether we compromise or whether we draw that line.
Oh my gosh, we could read so many things. Okay, I won't do it. Go to Romans.
Well, maybe we can do that on another episode. How about that? On another show.
Absolutely. On another episode, on another show. It's compelled. Well, you know what? I'm just going to do it because this is what I have to do. I'm sorry, everybody, if you don't want to hear this. But I'm going to do it because...
Just stick your finger in your ears and go, la, la, la.
Yeah, stick your fingers in your ear. This is something that I've read probably last year because this really started hitting me last year. And And this goes to speak about integrity, so it's directly related to it. And it's the book of Romans, chapter 2, verse 15 and 16 says, they show that the work of the law is written on their hearts, talking about people who don't know anything about God or Jesus. While their conscience also bears witness, and their conflicting thoughts accuse or even excuse them, on the day when, according to my gospel, God judges the secrets of men by Jesus Christ. So what it's saying there is this stuff is ingrained in you. That's what he just said. That's what this book just said. That's not a coincidence that you feel that way whenever you do something wrong. It's built in, and just following that voice can be very difficult to do. Like I said, there's some confrontation involved with that, externally and internally. So I had to do it. Sorry, I had to do it.
No problem. Be careful with the voice in your head, too, because sometimes it's not the clear. Sometimes it's pointing this way or a little bit this way. It's not pointing true north. So be careful with that voice in your head.
If the voice in my head was some sort of blade, I try to sharpen it every day so I understand what's going on. Because before, the voices in the head was kind of occluded because there would be several people shouting at once. So, no, it's okay. It's okay. Just keep smoking. That's what it would have been in my 20s. Keep smoking. It's fine. David, we come to the end here. Joe looks like he's prepared. He's straightening his camera. He's checking his hair. He just licked his fingers and went like this. Yeah, his wires are perfectly straight for once. So that's good. Beaver can attest to that when he comes on here. You know him too. You've done some stuff at his company. I want to thank you for coming on. This is a little bit of a different subject, but you know what? I really enjoyed talking about this stuff. So I just want to thank you.
I did too. I appreciate it. If I've offended anybody, please don't think I'm a perfectionist. I'm not.
Well, if no one's offended, then we didn't do it right. We got to do it again. If no one's offended, we need to take another crack at this or something.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say anything different. I just, just think.
That says it all.
If you don't agree with me, that's a good thing. That means I probably hit on something.
Absolutely. And I just want to reiterate, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I was going to, my new Cell CD, Of Course That's Mold, will be out next week. All right, David, I gotta let you go. We're gonna get into Joe here after a quick break, but I want to thank you for coming on again.
Appreciate it, guys. And, thank you, Zach.
No problem. I'm gonna let you go. Take care, David. And it's back to just me. Oh, everybody's like, oh, put David back. We got Joe coming up right after this break. We're gonna take a little break here. I have a service call video coming up on Wednesday. I think I set it up for. I try to make them like they're equidistant because I don't know why. I just like things being equidistant. It's like whenever you have your condenser pads and they're not square, and it's like a spur in your brain. That's what it's like to me if things aren't equidistant. So we have this show on Saturday night. On Wednesday night, or Wednesday at some point during the day, there's going to be a video. It's kind of long. It's like 19 minutes long where I'm doing some work. And part of that was I was talking about the True Blue hoses and evacuating a recovery cylinder. So we're going to go to that part just this little section real quick, and then I'll be right back with Joe. Here's the downside of True Blue is that it's very rigid when it's cold outside, and we're in the lower 50s, and it can be a little bit difficult to use. But they are the best as far as vacuum, that's for sure. So here's the deal with the True Blue hoses. They are probably the best vacuum hose I've ever used. The permeability is very, very low compared to other hoses. I've tested several hoses, which are more standard refrigeration hoses, against the True Blue. The True Blue got to the lowest micron level in any given period of time, meaning I put a bunch of hoses together, I put them to the vacuum, and True Blue was the best. There are a few negatives, though, that you should know about. Whenever it's colder outside, it's harder to handle the hose. They're more rigid, and they're more rigid than your average refrigeration hose. And you don't want to buy the shorter length. There's like a 3-foot version. I think it ends up kind of troublesome. You kind of have to fight with the hose to get the pump oriented and get it close enough to the unit. Sometimes that can be a pain. And they can't take positive pressure. So if you accidentally put them under positive pressure, it might damage the hose. But with all that being said, I still prefer True Blue hoses. I think they're the best. I'll continue to use those hoses until another one proves itself better. So we have the Navac 4CFM battery pump hooked up to recovery cylinder, and we're going to vacuum it out just to make sure it's nice and clear. I had to add a piece there because there wasn't enough room, because another downside to True Blue is the large connectors here. They are a great vacuum hose, but you have a choice of these smaller connectors down here or these right here. So, and they're great, but they're just large. So I'm vacuuming out this recovery cylinder to make sure it's squared away. 200 microns, we'll let it keep on running. Get it nice and dehydrated before we hook it up to the recovery machine, which I'm setting up now. Looking pretty good now. All right, I'm back. Let me bring in Joe here, or Rabbi Joseph. Rabbi Joseph, welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, guys. Hey, Zach.
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Hey.
How do I look? How do I sound?
You sound great. Everything looks good. I mean, because you did like this down there is what I told people that you did, which I think is something that all men do, obviously. You know what? This reminds me of something, Joe. I just played a video on True Blue. Did I not send you a True Blue hose to evaluate?
You did?
Did you evaluate it?
I have.
All right. What's the evaluation? Did you like it or not?
I don't, because I might like it more if I had a longer one with more accessories, but the fittings always seem to get in the way.
Yeah.
So
they do get in the way.
I don't use it.
Like half and half, maybe.
Yeah, half and half. I mean, it is good. It will pull a deeper total vacuum than the Appions. You know, when you just stick the micron gauge at the other end of the hose, stick it to the pump, see how low it'll go. I think my Appion stopped at like 120 or something. And
really, I thought it would be lower than that. Man, did you screw it on all the way?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty low. I don't think one.
It's a tech support question. Is it plugged in? Yeah. So what was the True Blue hose? If that was 120,
it got down to like 80 something.
Oh,
80
so it was
something.
Okay.
So
I did this test and it was lower than that when I did this. I wonder why. That's
which one? It probably matters between pump and pump, and I'm not sure if I might have had it connected to my little test rig. I have about a 3-foot piece of 1 1/8" copper that I welded shut and then put 2 Schrader cores on the other end, and that's what I used to test my like core tools and stuff. So I might have had it connected to that whole test rig, and the lowest it would get with the Appions was 120, and the True Blue was like down in the under 100. Which I mean, if it's like people kind of get all nerded out about like, oh man, I got down to 47. It's like, oh, okay. I don't know if that really matters.
Well, Joe, as you know, if you have a True Blue hose that gets to 47 microns, your Appion gets to 51, the Appion's complete garbage. It should be thrown away immediately.
I agree. And I get what Jim's saying. He's putting the work of the pump at the end of the hose. And I get that for sure. But if you're dealing with a system that's been running, you're doing a repair on, I don't care how great a hoses you have, it's going to stall. It's going to take forever because you got refrigerant off gassing and stuff. So
I do believe, like I said, I was coming out with a video on Wednesday, and in that video, I think we made it to around 600 microns.
On a repair. After how long?
After over an hour.
Yeah,
over an hour vacuum. So it got caught, and it was a double whammy because, as people will see, it was a Goodman package unit, and it has those other cores in it, and I don't have the tool for those cores, which is, I guess, me unprepared. But so I had to just pull it like an old-fashioned rigged up way, and it was not as good as it could have been.
With the True Blues?
Yeah, one True Blue, and then the vacuum gauge was on the other port. I was one hosing it.
Oh,
I'm trying to like these one hose guys.
Okay.
You know how you have your group of choir people? Well, I'm part of the one hose guys.
Choir people.
Well, I don't want to, the choir boys or whatever,
What are we, like, politically correct or something? The choir people.
I don't know.
They, them. No.
I don't know if anybody's in transition. Well, plus, I mean, I don't know. There's like a 50% chance that John's cat is part of this group. So I don't know if you could say, I don't know what you call it. You know what I'm saying?
I guess.
Shout out.
I guess
CC.
apparently, yeah. John's cat is the closest thing to a person of any cat because he comments on YouTube chats all the
I know
time.
it's quite impressive. It really is. Almost. I don't know about you, but I think it's John. That's the.
No.
No.
It's the cat.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, NorCal, he's in the chat. He knows about it. I mean, for some reason, he's privy to this stuff.
Yeah. The cat gives John a hard time all the time. He's like, God, John's a piece of work.
You didn't let NorCal be a choir boy, did you? He rides a motorcycle.
We're trying to get him in, but he won't abide by some of the rules.
Well, your group coolness is only at a 15 out of 50, and NorCal potentially could get that to a 37. Since we're measuring and testing stuff.
Yeah, I keep asking, and he like avoids my calls and won't reply to the comments. He'll just like leave and go to Mexico for a while, and I can't get a hold of him.
I know. He was supposed to live stream from Mexico. While I think that I'm not sure what was going to happen, but I got like this picture that there was going to be like a party on the actual show, and like people would just be brought in that were, I don't know, like it was going to be wild though. But it didn't happen because I think he forgot about it when he got there, and I didn't want to bother him when he was in Mexico, and I don't know if he even has cell signal there.
Bro,
I don't know what Mexico's like.
Do they have 5G in Mexico?
I don't know how many Gs they have in Mexico. I've never been there before.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's 1G. I don't know if I don't know if it's pigeons. I don't know what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe that's next time. Now, I said it out loud to put pressure on him. Next time he goes, he has to do it. So.
Yep. Yeah, I think NorCal's created the HVAC Centers group. So we're the choir boys, and he's the HVAC Centers. But we're still trying to recruit him.
Yeah, I now remember that he can't be in your group. That's right. No. Well, sorry about that.
Yeah.
You should think about it, NorCal. You should think about converting. For whatever you are to whatever it is they are. I don't know.
We're the people. You can decide. Whatever you want to be.
Joe, man, we're sitting here having this show, and I wrote down this stuff to talk to you about, and now I got to tell you, I don't even want to talk to you about it.
You don't? I
want to talk about something else.
Want me to leave?
No, I want you to stay, because you listened to the first part of the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
For part of it. I know you got up and did some stuff, but you listened to the first part of the show.
I heard most of it.
You're a one-man company, and he couldn't speak to that. And you don't run into any ethical issues, do you, on a daily basis, being a one-man company? Do you ever put yourself in a bad position? You had to make a decision?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what have you done, Joe? This is the confessional for the choir boys, which I guess is required, right? Don't you have to repent? Repent, you have to put it out loud, don't you? Online?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not
Live
Catholic, Zach. Okay. I don't need to confess to you to have my sin forgiven.
Oh, that's true.
It's between me and God, so we can just. What's the next question?
So you're gonna bypass this show? I see. That's fine. That's actually consistent.
No, I mean
consistent, but no, you're not. For real though, I mean, you get as far as a one-man company. There's no oversight except for you. So maybe, how about this? Have you struggled with anything as a one-man company, or what was that thing?
Oh, for sure. I mean, struggle with stuff every day, just like every human does. Being honest, I wish I could think of something like right off. I can kind of think of something that I'm kind of dealing with now, just with kind of a difficult customer who you can tell just when you're talking to them on the phone that really should just tell him I'm not interested, can't help him, too busy, whatever. But I didn't, and I went out there and did a little maintenance, and it was just like all the signs of this is not someone you want to continue working for. And so then he wanted me to go and work at this other kind of little business place he has. And, so I'm like, I'm just going to tell him, I'm just going to call him. I'm just having second thoughts about doing any more work for him. But I kind of feel bad because I came and did like a maintenance at his house for him. But honestly, I mean, I shouldn't really feel bad about that because I did what I, was paid for and asked to do and all that stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to tell him I'm too busy. Something came up. But then it like immediately was like, ooh, but that's lying.
That makes it bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to lie. And I know sometimes people would kind of say like, the Lord just works in your life and he keeps like convicting you of small things. And it's like, if you want to be, if you want to have integrity, which is odd, for people who don't believe in God, but they're very integrity minded. That's odd because it makes no sense from that standpoint. But since we're believers, me and you, Zach, we can say, we have integrity because that is God. Who God is perfect, and we're made in the image of him. So we want to try to have integrity. So now I'm just dealing with kind of the best way to call this person and let them know I just don't feel comfortable, because it was kind of getting in the middle of this tenant called an AC guy, and then he wants me to go in and look at it because he doesn't like the other guy. And I'm like, I think I'll just have to be honest with him and say, I really wasn't wanting to get in the middle of this. I really didn't like some of the things that were going on. I might not say that. So I haven't worked out exactly what I'm going to say, but I just felt convicted that I need to be honest with them. And as far as integrity on the job goes, it would just be like, let's say you just did a repair and a couple months back or something, and a repair you did, or maybe something you're like, yeah, I did kind of screw this up, but I could easily tell them, something else was broken.
Yeah.
But, as soon as that you kind of have that thought, it's like instantly like, yeah, but that's not the right thing to do, and it may cost a little bit of money, but I mean,
yeah, I've had trouble because being placed in that situation before I had any money. I mean, if I owned up to it, it had a real consequence. Like this whole the lady who gave like whatever, I forget what the money is. For your sake, we'll say shekels, even though it wasn't. It was probably like a denarius or whatever that Roman coin was at the time. The lady who gave like 2 shekels when that was all she owned, and then there was a person that gave like 100, but he was a rich man, so it didn't matter any. So you could pay for the repair or go back and pay for the repair, but if you have tons of money, you don't really lose that much. But what if you're the company that has to go back and pay for the repair, and that takes everything he's got? I think that's a real test right there. That's a test that I failed repeatedly because I was afraid that I was going to come back. I'm speaking honestly, I'd go back and say, well, if I go back and try to fix this thing or make it better, obviously it works enough where someone thinks it's working, or else they would have already called me. But if I go back and try to fix something and make it better, and then I'm going to take care of it, I may not have enough money to eat on. And there was a time when that was the case early on. So I think that's where I failed a lot. So, and that's my area.
And it's not always a great feeling doing the right thing, is it? I mean, sometimes it's like it stinks. You would have much rather, found something that you did caused all the refrigerant to leak out. Now you're out and you were really like, okay, yeah, I needed a good money-making call today. And then you go and you're like, man, I'm not going to be able to bill out anything for this.
Oh yeah.
And, the people don't really know, and they don't really appreciate it. And you leave kind of feeling like that stunk.
That's right. Hey,
But
you know, just before you go on, I was thinking about what you just said about not feeling good after doing something that is supposedly good or the right decision. I found that you can bring home some conflict because the people at home, maybe a wifely type person, she may not appreciate your good deed because you're putting them in jeopardy and it wasn't their fault. That's one of the things I struggle with too, because if I were to say, all right, I'm taking care of this, she'd be like, well, we have $10 and you're going to go spend $12, that sort of thing. So that's really, really tough. Not that my wife was wrong. I'm just saying.
Or
are you watching?
Bring, now you're kind of frustrated and maybe kind of take it out at home on your family or on your wife, and they don't really deserve that. That's probably more of my struggle, more than like, the wife getting mad because, but I understand what you're saying for sure. That's tough. I think integrity begins in your own home. Sometimes we neglect that side of things too.
Yeah, want things to be easy. That's the whole idea. I want life to roll easy, no problems.
Mm-hmm.
So since you're the one-man show ish, I know you said you got help periodically if you needed it as far as lifting and stuff.
Yeah, if anyone's looking for a job in Tallahassee.
Maybe get one of them Kalos people to defect or something and move to Tallahassee.
I've tried it. Brian pays them way too much.
Oh my God.
Too many benefits.
So if you do get a guy, he would have just switched to Kalos actually.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, you know Brian? Can you give me a job there? Like, no.
Oh, great. I just want to sit on his class. I'll work for free. I just want to be part of his class. Hey, well, what I was going to ask you is have you been overrun yet as far as summers? I can't remember how many years you've been at this now. It seems like 2 or 3 of them? Maybe it's like 5 now.
This will be my, well, if we count 18, 19, 20, this will be my 4th.
4th year. So
summer.
Have you been like totally overrun at the beginning of a summer? Have you dealt with that? It's not really integrity based, but just how do you deal with it?
I don't have a problem saying no, which is not always good, because sometimes I turn down stuff that I could have done. And I'm not like super driven to build the company to some, although it is like, I do want to find someone to help to possibly work for me, because I know I may not always be able to do the work myself. If I could, I would probably stay a one-man band until I would, basically die, because let's face it, in this trade, you just die in a crawl space and they drag you out. And that's it,
Just like till I die. And then it's over anyway.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm gonna name your autobiography that you're gonna write one day "Not Super Driven," based on what you just said. That's gonna be good. I'm Joe Shearer, and I'm not.
I'm
super
driven. I mean, like, I am driven to a point, but what I meant to say is I'm not like, I'm more of a technician at heart more than a business owner. So I'm not like trying to build my brand and make this company huge, because at the end of the day, none of that matters. And I'm not built that way, so it won't make me happy. In fact, it'll probably make me more stressed out and take stuff out more on my family. So I enjoy a low stress life. I like being in front of a machine. I like the business side of things, and the unlimited earning potential has definitely motivated me way more than any other time in my life. But I'm not someone who, has to work till 8 or 9 o'clock at the summer to be all to all people. Now, I will take care of my loyal customers, no doubt. I mean, to me, loyalty is everything. My loyal customers, yes, I will go out of my way to take care of them. But just people, finding you online and, hey, my air is broken, can you get to me today? No, I don't have to be that guy for you today, because the little bit of money I'll make is not worth it, to me anyway. So
I agree with you.
But my motivation would change if I were to hire someone that started out as a helper. Now he's running a truck. I would start taking more of those calls, for sure.
Well, that adds some responsibility over him for you. That might affect your stress level. Is that the hesitancy that you have, or do you think you're not there as far as volume yet, or what?
Yeah, definitely volume wouldn't be there now, but I would have, there are things I could do, like, for people, I think home warranty companies are a good way to let a new technician cut his teeth on them,
Oh, this is
because
interesting. Okay, all right.
why not, right?
But I thought they were awful. I thought
They
that was
are
the whole
awful,
the
but
consensus.
hey, you know what? You're awful, so here's a newbie tech. Go have fun.
So he's going to be eaten by this monster. So you just want to watch. You just want to watch this guy be destroyed by
I'll
home
still
warranty
have
company?
integrity, and we'll still, have as much integrity. There's a kind of, back and forth, because I don't even like to be associated with some of the companies, because they'll get a bad name for you because you're the face of the house, when it's really the home warranty company saying, well, has it been maintained? Is there any rust? Is there any dirt? Is there anything at all that we can deny this claim about,
How much is our disposal fee this time?
Yeah, and honestly, the customers push you to be dishonest with the home warranty. The home warranty pushes you to be dishonest with the customer. It's like, just let me out of this.
You guys deserve each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm leaving.
I hope you do have to pay $100 for Freon flange replacement.
Yeah. Filled Freon, found Schrader core leak.
That's so funny, because that's exactly right. See you later.
Fix leak. Put some UV dye in. Fix the leak.
That's exactly right. Found the Schrader core leak. That's the 15th Schrader core leak on this unit.
Yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you in 31 days, and it won't be a recall. Don't give me a recall.
31 days. That's so hilarious.
Just for the pure experience, and not like, you wouldn't want to send your new tech out to your high-end customers. Typically, they wouldn't. I wouldn't. But I was just thinking, and then you could start paying for stuff like the Google, get you higher up on the rankings and stuff like that. I get a lot more of those, because I get a fair amount anyway. And honestly, I don't really answer my phone unless, number one, because I get so many robocalls. But if I don't really recognize the name, that it's not one of my customers, someone I recognize, I really don't answer it. I let them leave a message, and then I call them back. In my voicemail, I try to let people know I do check my voicemails constantly and leave me a message. So,
well, do you do texting? Do you like texting with the customers?
Yeah, I have that on my thing too. You can text this number,
always like that.
My cell phone number, if you want to, and some people do. I love it when people that are like, hey, my air's broken, can you help me? I'm like, and it's not, obviously for a customer, but it's more like, you can tell it's someone that knows you. But come on, I would always be like, hey, this is so and so, my air, something like. But no.
Hey man, I need you. I saw your Craigslist ad.
Yeah,
great van.
Yeah. A free pound of Freon with every 5. Can I get that deal?
I love these ideas because I've heard these before. They're hilarious.
Your 5th pound's free with me.
The Schrader core leak is the best because it's all the time. Well, I looked over the system somewhat, and I found that your Schrader core is definitely leaking. So the 10 pounds between last week and this week can be most aptly characterized as a Schrader core leak.
Definitely.
Solution: tighten Schrader core.
Unit was flat, could not find leak. Put UV dye in.
Yeah. All right, no, wait. Put nitrogen in unit. Realized that I was putting nitrogen through potential leaking Schrader core. Decided it was that Schrader core, and recharge system.
Right. Now, I will say, I've had one unit that held 300 pounds of nitrogen for an entire weekend. Okay? It was flat. Unit held pressure all weekend. Charged it up, was flat again the next day. So I guess every once in a while you could have some sort of a crack, expansion, contraction, and literally that could happen to you, but it's very rare.
See, on that one, that's easy too. That's not Schrader core. That is Huffers. The huffers got it.
Yes. Yeah, someone's huffing your Freon, even though my condenser's on a 5th-story roof. That's
Hey.
Oh, no, you had someone else working here, and they were stealing your Freon, putting it in another one.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the huffers gets me.
The huffers is one of my favorites because the huffers it applies to everything. I mean, even your Schrader core. The Schrader core is leaking because huffers kinked it.
Mm-hmm.
They kinked it with their huffer hoses, which are often not up to spec.
Is that still a thing?
What, huffers? Or the kinking? The Schrader cores? No, the huffers are definitely still a thing. I know there's no locking. I don't ever see locking caps. So the huffers.
You don't. It's code access. Here.
I just don't see them. I mean, for whatever units that I run into on a daily basis, which is not many because I only work once a week, I see 0 caps. Nothing.
Not even the plastic ones?
Well, sometimes the plastic ones. That's good. The plastic ones, yes. Yeah. And those train ones that are brass, but there's no gaskets in, so it takes it just goes around the threads and comes out anyway. That's what refrigerant does. Here, I'm motioning with my hand for people that listen to this show but don't watch it. So that's what I run into in my travels, Joe. So, which are lighter and more easy. But should I ask you about warranty stuff? Should we do that? Do you even want to talk about warranty stuff?
We'll talk about whatever you want.
Hey, awesome. Okay. All right. What are you doing tomorrow?
I'm going to go to church.
Go to church? What time is church?
For me, it's 11.
It's pretty standard. It's good.
Yeah.
Is this, well, I thought, no, you're not synagogue. You're church. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow is Sabbath. Shabbat.
Oh, let me do this for people because they can't see this. Hold on a second. I got to fix something. There. That's better. There's the name.
Shalom.
Shalom
to you.
Yeah, actually,
yes, tomorrow Shabbat, and I will only be eating crackers, and we can't turn the light switches on and off. So
I like that. Well, that's cool. That sounds fun. I'm gonna go to my regular church where we can do all those things, and we have a bunch of food and stuff. We don't do it now, but we used to.
Well, do you get nice little hats to wear though?
No, we don't have a hat to wear, but I will tell you. This is off the rails right here. We went somewhere today, and it was run by Mennonites. So they had the little hats on and the long flowing dresses, which leaves everything to the imagination. Basically, these dresses go from the ceiling to the floor somehow. I don't know how they can see where they're walking, but it was really interesting because it's right in the middle of the country, like this what I call redneck area. There's these Mennonite store, and they bake this stuff from scratch, and it's like it's odd. It's like misplaced, but it was great.
I've heard
bad. Makes no sense.
No, it makes sense, but I've heard people say they got really sick from the Amish and Mennonite food. Mennonite may be better because Amish don't have refrigerators, do they?
I think there's a no electricity bunch, right?
Yeah, no electricity, so.
Well, these people had everything. They had a sign outside that said when the store was open, so they had everything.
Okay, I think the Mennonites they can like drive cars and use technology and stuff, which is.
Oh yeah, she was on her phone, so yeah.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, she's up at the counter like this, but has the whole garb on, but it's like it's on an iPhone. So I was like, okay, well.
Well, what's up with that though?
I have no idea. I don't know what the rules for them are. They said they were Mennonites, and I think of Amish, but then obviously when I think of Amish, I think of the beards. And then raising barns and stuff. So I don't know.
Hey, they can work though.
Oh, sure. Yeah. One of them came out, actually had the beard, He was in great shape from barn raising, I guess, or whatever. Calf juggling or whatever they do.
Yeah.
Udder flexing.
You should probably ask one if they want to move to Florida and do HVAC. They'd probably be a good worker.
Probably a hard no. It's probably a hard
no.
no. No, they in fact, the store, what I first noticed when I go into the store is, of course, there's a Goodman air handler hanging up in the middle of the ceiling, like right above my head height.
Do it yourself.
There's no drain pan underneath the unit. So when this sucker floods, it's going to be like a surprise party.
It's going to be a free shower.
There's no P-trap on it. It just goes like almost level straight along the side. And I said, I wonder what a filter looks like in this, because we all do that, I guess. I look around the corner, it's all folded up inside of it, sucked into the coil. I was like, you can't be doing this to a Goodman unit. They're already under enough pressure.
You can't even clean those coils without them leaking.
It'll be hard to clean this one because that thing is sucked up like a cupcake wrapper inside of
so
the
you're
thing.
saying their work ethic can be hackish at times.
At least in AC, they may not recognize large glaring issues.
Benefits. You know?
I think they raised this thing just like they raised their barn. They just hoisted it up to the ceiling,
Yeah.
screwed it in, and pointed
And
it toward the other end of the store.
Mm-hmm. They're just happy to have it. Their cousins don't even get it.
That's
It's
right.
like,
Well,
you know.
it doesn't run off candle power. That's the problem. It doesn't start. Joe, I have to stop this part of the conversation because I can see it's going sideways, and I'm responsible for that as well. So double reason to stop it. I'm not going to ask you about warranties because we already ran out of time anyway. We talked like for 30 minutes already, believe it or not. Actually, I think it's longer than that. Weird.
Well, see, I always like to keep you wanting to ask me back on. Then we can talk about warranties.
Okay. Do you want to stick around, or do you want to go about your business and live your life with your children and wife?
I'll probably need to go this time, but I'd love to come back maybe.
Wow,
could
you
just
really do
stay
need
on
to go
track.
because there is a certain amount of pressure to say yes when you're on the air. Ask this question, but you overcame that and said no.
Okay.
You do have integrity.
Okay, 5 minutes.
No. I'm just saying. I was going to do skill trade up, but no, it'll last way
Oh,
longer.
do I
than
get to
that. So-
play? Can I win?
No, I was going to say if you wanted to, when people play, like, oh, that's obviously wrong. It's like, yep, that's wrong. You're gone, or something like that.
Oh, that would have been fun.
See, but no, go live.
I
your
love
life.
doing that.
I know. We'll do it next time, though. You can actually come on the show at any time during that segment to say, I'd like to pop in and just, whenever someone gets it wrong, I'm like, ha, and just hit the button and leave.
Do I get the button?
Yeah, you can hit a button. It's at the bottom of your screen. It's a little leave studio button.
Oh no, I want to do the thing.
Oh, we can work that out. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
That'll be fine.
awesome. Well, thanks for
Okay.
having me on. Thanks everybody, and
No problem, Joe.
stay tuned for the warranty surprise.
Oh, yeah.
What don't
No,
I warranty?
It's going to be good. So just stick
Mhm.
around, okay? But as for today, we have to let Joe go because he has to hang out with his family. Yeah. Great dad. Thanks.
What a loser.
What a choir boy. For real. No, that's awesome. Okay. All right,
Right.
Joe, I'm going to let
See
you go. Later, man. Bye. Joe's gone. He's out of here. Okay, so let me remind you guys what we're going to be doing next. We're going to be doing, see, so you know that Joe had to go because, like, you can get off the screen and you're still down there. Joe was gone within, like, 1 nanosecond. That's what it would be. Joe's a lot of fun, man. I like having 2 guys on the show. It's a lot of fun. If you guys want to be on the show and you're out there, just send me an email, hvacshoptalk@gmail.com. I'd love to have you on. Technicians and stuff, we'll talk technical crap. We can talk about warranties and stuff. Me and Joe can figure out something else to talk about. It'll be fun. So I urge you to do that. That would be wonderful if you would. That would be great. We're going to play Skill Trade Up after a break here. I'm going to show you again. We have 4 prizes. Here's the first level. Oh, wow, Zach, it's a hat and some ratchet straps. That's got to be the pinnacle. No, I tell you no, it's not. Level 2, you could win the Viper Coil Cleaner. Skill Trade Up shirt has Shop Talk on the other side. That must be the grand prize. Again, no. Number 3, expander with expansion heads all the way up to 1 5/8. Obviously the grand prize. But I say no, it is not. It is the NAVAC NP7DP vacuum pump. Awesome. Down to 15 microns, bro. 15 microns. What are you talking about over there in the chat? We're talking about, let's see. Because this is the part of the show which there's no guest, I get to read the chat. Thank you, all of you, for watching, by the way. I really appreciate that. It says, send that email, Eric. Let's see. Where's Eric at? Where's Eric? Eric, you want to be on this show? Where are you at? I don't see you in the chat anymore. I had to go up quite a bit. Eric, if you want to be on this show, I want you on this show. I'm going to write it down right here. Eric, melee, like a fight. Melee. Okay, I want you on this show, Eric. I'm going to track you down, so you might as well just come out and volunteer. It makes you look better instead of me having to track you down. We can have a great conversation. I know we can. I see. Look in the chat there. We got Jessica. We had a great conversation last week. We got Beaver. We have great conversations every week. Praise Jesus. And we have Shannon. Shannon, I wanted on this show. I want to still have Shannon on the show. Craig, he was on the show last week, going right down to the chat here. We have a lot of great guys. But, okay, I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Hopefully Eric emails me at hvacshoptalk@gmail.com, which any of you can do. Like I said, Lex Vance, I invited Lex Vance, so hopefully he will accept that invitation. I know he was busy at the time, but I would love to have Lex back. He was on a podcast a couple years ago. So, Hamilton says he wants to see Shannon on the show. I want to see Shannon on the show. Shannon, I'll give you a microphone. I'll give you a little light you can aim at yourself. I'll give you whatever you need because having good quality people on the show is awesome. Fantastic. All right, let's take a break. We're going to come back and play some skill trade up. I'll explain the game when we come back. Let me see what I have on tap here. Okay. All right, we're going to be right back, guys, and we'll play some games and win some stuff, hopefully. Okay, so we're back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the chat. After I put a link in the chat, I'm going to stop the chat until after the game is over. I'm so glad I remembered. I remembered 2 weeks in a row. It's amazing. So when you hit that link, if you want to play this game, it's going to bring you into a queue right here on my other screen. The first person to pop up in the queue gets to play the game. There's 4 questions. You could potentially win a vacuum pump. Now, if you get one of the questions wrong, you lose everything. But you get to keep on each level. If you get the first question right, which is going to be an easy question, you get to keep it. You can risk it and go up or trade up, as we say, or you can walk away and keep your prize. Same thing on level 2, which is another easy question. Then we go to medium on level 3, and then brain-racking hard on level 4. Okay? All right. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. Then I'm going to stop the chat after that. So I'm placing it right now. Here we go. Hit that link if you want to play. And let me stop the chat after this. Takes me just a second. Enable live chat. I'm going to stop. It's going to pop away. I hope you guys can still see the link. If you can't still see the link, then that'll be a problem. I'll wait a few minutes. If you can't still see the link because of the chat, well, we have people pop up already. Look at that. Look at that. All right, see, who do we have here? A familiar face. Let's see. Let's get her in here. All right. Jessica.
Oh, hi.
All right, Jessica, I'm going to adjust your volume slightly. What do you do? Walking through a cave or something over there? What are you doing?
We're out on the porch.
Okay, you're out on the porch. All right, I got you. All right. I got your volume adjusted. So you can play the game this week. Last week you couldn't play. You're on the show. You ready?
I'm ready.
Well, you got a HVACR video shirt? Where's the Shop Talk shirt? Good grief.
Craig wears it.
Oh, that's right, Craig. And Craig, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He really is. Okay. So how you feeling? You ready to win some stuff? You want to win all that stuff?
I'd love to win all that stuff.
Here's the general consensus here. Watch this. It's it'd be great. Okay. There it goes. All right. So 4 questions. You've already done this before. I don't have to explain anything. This is perfect.
No, we're
all
good.
Right. So we're going to get started with the first question, which is an easy question. And you could potentially win, hold on to your hat, literally a Shop Talk hat. So you can wear it and, you could take off the competing channel stuff. I'm just kidding. Chris is a nice guy. So we have a hat and we have the ratcheting straps. You could win that here. Ratcheting straps are great for everything. You can put your kids into a group and ratchet them together. They can't get away. Ratchet a kid to a tree. These are alternative ideas I like to give out that are really good. So, don't do that really. I think that's against the law. But all right, so I'm going to give you your first question, and I'm sure you're going to do great. So here we go. What to pick here? What to pick? Here's a real brain teaser. Brian's going to fire you if you get this wrong, by the way. It's what does the B in BTU represent? A, boiler, B, British, C, blower, or D, batch?
It is British.
It is British, huh? What's the British got to do with air conditioning, huh? I wonder. But you know what? You're exactly right. It is the British. The British, I guess they invented air conditioning and heat and everything, probably. I don't know. That's not true. So you won yourself the first prize here.
All right.
You got a hat. You got the ratchet straps. Now, a lot of people are content in life with just that, hat and ratchet straps. But are you content in life with just a hat and ratchet straps?
I have a hat, and I wear it every day.
So you already have a hat. Okay.
I already have a hat. I could do it. Ratchet straps are cool, but I think we're going to go on.
All right. We're going to trade up. All right. There's a noise playing that you can't hear, but it sounds great. Let me just tell you. So we're going to go on to question number 2, which is also easy. This is an easy level question. If you get it wrong, that wasn't meant as an insult, so I'm sorry. But here's your easy question. I'm sure you'll have no problem with it. And there's our question 2. Which of the following is not a refrigerant metering device? A TXV, B, a TEV, C, an EEV, or D, a VRF? What do you say,
D.
Jessica? Did you say G?
VRF.
VRF, okay. So what is VRF if it's not a metering device?
Yes.
But what is it? What is a VRF?
It is 42.
42. What are y'all talking about? Okay, well, you're right. It absolutely is D. But what are y'all talking about 42? What do y'all mean by 42?
42 is the answer to life and everything.
Oh, never mind. Where's Susie? Where's Susie at? Susie likes us. Okay. All right. It's coming back to me now. All right, so you got your second prize here. You got some Refrigeration Technologies coil cleaner in a bag, or Bag-O cleaner, as it can be called, which I think it should be called, and a skilled trade-up shirt, which you can now wear when you're on the skilled trade-up, which will be perfect. So, but you have to go to a medium question to get the NAVAC tubing expander all the way up to 1 5/8. Jessica, that's good for someone who's making repairs.
I mean, I'd really love to have a shirt in my size, but I'd really like that NAVAC.
Well, you know what? If you get the question right, you get to keep all of it.
That's true.
So you can have it all. Is that what you want to try to do?
I do.
All right, we're going to trade up. Medium question number 3 here. So we're going to step it up just a notch. Not too bad. So check it out. When an air conditioner is in operation, the refrigerant between the metering device and the evaporator, this area is called the inlet tube, can be described as A, cool gas, B, warm gas, C, cool gas liquid mix, or D, cool liquid. What do you think?
It is C.
Are you absolutely positive this is your final answer?
Yes.
All right, she says C. Says it is a cool gas liquid mix, and you know what? That's absolutely right. It is a cool gas liquid mix. You got yourself an expander with all the expansion heads. Oh my gosh, look at that thing. It's
Oh my
beautiful.
gosh. I'm so excited.
You could be expanding so much so quickly, all the way up to commercial sizes, really. So, but is that satisfactory when you know there's a vacuum pump waiting on question 4?
Oh,
You're gonna risk it all? Wait a second. It's a vacuum pump. What are you using for a vacuum pump right now?
I don't have one yet.
Oh my gosh, it's meant to be.
Is that the 4?
No, this is the 7 CFM corded pump. This is the
7
big
CFM.
corded pump. Yes.
Ooh.
This is not the battery one. This is the corded pump. Good down to 15 microns with a 7 CFM displacement. It's pretty good. But the question you got to ask yourself, this is going to be a hard question. So you have to decide whether or not it's risking having a ball of your own hair in your hands at the end of this. Is it worth it?
You know what, Zach? Let's make it a true daily double.
Oh, you're speaking my language. Are you positive?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna hit the button here. All right, we're gonna trade up to the final question. All right, this is the tough one. All right, this is the toughest one you're gonna face. So let's not waste any time. Let's look at it. Question number 4. At 10,000 feet above sea level, atmospheric pressure decreases from 14.7 psia to A, 10 psia, B, 5 psia. I love having to say psia over and over again. Let me just say A, 10, B, 5, C, 1, or D, 0.1. At 10,000 feet above sea level, what is the atmospheric pressure?
Oh.
What are you thinking?
I'm just, it's a total guess.
Well, you got to think about it. What happens at 10,000 feet? Planes are flying above that.
Yeah.
So you got to think relatively, what do planes fly at? I guess 20 or 30,000 feet. So try to judge. Obviously, they need some assistance breathing, right? So the pressure's dropping. They're having issues up there. But how much drop do you think there is at 10,000
I'm going to go with C.
C is 1 psia. Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Says yes, it's her final answer, but it's Actually, 10 PSIA is the
Oh.
right answer. 10 PSIA. Jessica, you went for it all, but you were classy. You were classy. I didn't hear any cursing. You didn't throw anything. It's pretty good. Man,
I didn't yell.
didn't yell. And you said you were a yeller.
I am a yeller. I
You
didn't
said
yell.
I'm a yeller. I assume that was in conflict with your husband that you said that you were a yeller. But
I might go take a bath and cry.
take a bath and cry. I tell you what, you're gonna get a shirt. I'm sending you a shirt. Do you not have one? Did I never send you one?
I do not have a shirt. Craig got a shirt.
Okay, you text me what size shirt you have, keeping in mind this is dude shirt, so your best estimation, what size shirt it'll be, and I will send you a shirt, okay? Got to do that. You're a guest on the show. You should have got one already. So
Thank you.
that absolutely, and I just don't want you to be mad at me. Let's just put it that way. All right. All right, well, text me your shirt size. I already have your address, I guess, from last time, and I'll send it off to you, okay?
All right. Have a good night, Zach.
Thank you for playing, Jessica. Try again, all right?
I will.
All right, take care. Bye. Oh, Jessica, man, that was close. All right, let's see if you guys knew it. I'm going to turn the chat back on and see if you guys knew the answer or not. Enable the live chat. It should be back on, so you should be able to chat now. Man, oh, good gosh, golly, heck, dang it. I see him right now. I think Jessica's yelling right now. I think I see it. She's yelling at Craig. I think I can make it out. She's like, Craig, why didn't you shout the right answer from across the room? Divorce is imminent. I feel bad for them. Okay. That's a tough question. On the fourth questions, I want to be very difficult with them. And because it's a really big prize, we're going to bring that prize back next week. We're going to have another shot at it. So it was a great try. It really was a great try. It was really tough. The reason, a lot of these questions I got out of the vacuum book. Geez, let me remember the name here. Let's see. If I just say vacuum book, that's kind of rude of me. Let me tell you what book it is. It's the one that I've been reading. Review of Vacuum for Service Engineers is where that information came from. There is a great little cross-section. They're really old, like a little diagram of various pressures at various heights in the atmosphere, and that's where I got that question. So, great job. I'm going to send her a shirt. She should have had a shirt already. If you're on this show as a guest and you don't have a Shop Talk shirt, you let me know. I will send you one. You need to have one. So, absolutely. Okay, let's take one last break. I'm going to come back. We're going to have a little parting conversation here. And dang it, Jessica. Jessica, you try again next week. We're going to do this again next week with a whole bunch of big prizes just like that. And we actually got in some stuff from Knipex and Vito. So maybe I'll add some of those. Maybe I'll ask you guys during the week which ones you want. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. The best forced air zoning controls in the HVAC industry come from EWC Controls. This includes the Workhorse BM Plus 3000 zone panel, 3 zones, multiple dip switches so you can customize the controls to your particular system install. Another workhorse of the system is the URD and ND dampers. These power open, power closed dampers are both reliable and long lasting. So for the entire life of your system, you won't be replacing your zoning components. And lastly, the innovative SBD2 static pressure bypass with the wireless NFC interface take this whole thing to a new level of precision and reliability because you can set your system right there at your fingertips to the particular static pressure you need. No more guesswork, no more barometric arms. Go to EWC Controls Incorporated. You can find them online to learn more and look for them in your local supply house. All right, guys, for our final thing of the evening, we're going to do a little Bible lesson here. I hope you guys enjoy. We talked about integrity tonight, which is supremely important, something I've struggled with my whole career, doing things make my life easier to avoid conflict. And I just want to tell you a little story about someone who did not avoid conflict, even though he wanted to, and he held true the whole time. And this is going to be the first section I want to read to you. Is called The Temptation of Jesus. It is the Gospel of Luke, chapter 4, right at the beginning of the book. And it says, And Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, returned from the Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness for 40 days, being tempted by the devil, and he ate nothing during those days. And when they were ended, he was hungry. The devil said to him, If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread. And Jesus answered him, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone. And I want to note here that he's going off of Scripture when he responds. So that's the baseline of integrity that we talked about. Even Jesus is using that same baseline of integrity. And the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time and said to him, to you I will give all of this authority and their glory, for it has been delivered to me, and I will give it to whom I will. If you then will worship me, it will all be yours. And Jesus answered, it is written, again, going to Scripture, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. So he has the baseline, just like we're talking about a baseline out there. The final part of this is, and he took him to Jerusalem and set him out on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you and guard you. And on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. And Jesus answered him, it is said, again to Scripture, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. How many times do people do that? Put God to the test, ask him for things, call for things from him. And when the devil had ended every temptation, he departed from him until an opportune time. So he reappears later, obviously. But the example of integrity, when we think about this, we think about, okay, this is someone who is, Emmanuel, God with us is what that means. And it would be very easy for him to resist temptation. That's what you're inclined to think. But the thing about Jesus is he was 100% God, 100% man. He was both. He brought on those temptations, and he felt them in a very real way because he put himself in a position just like you or I would be in as men or women out there. And I want to illustrate that by reading this section right here, which is the prayer on the Mount of Olives. Now, this is getting closer to the time when the Romans and Jews were beating him and eventually killing him and crucifying him. And he was reacting like we would react, really. Now, think about this. This is prayer on the Mount of Olives, Luke 22:39 through 44. And it said, and he came out and went, as was his custom, to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. And when they came to that place, he said to them, pray that you may not enter into temptation. So he doesn't want the situation they're in causing them to lose their nerve. And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed, saying, now listen to this part, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Now, he's going to do what he has to do, but you can tell he wants to not have to do this because of how difficult and how hard, and it's going to be painful. But he knows that eventually, or whatever happens, he's going to be following the will of the Father, God. It's very important that, I think that verse is very important because it helps us kind of deal with our issues as well, because he felt them just like we felt them. But he overcame it, and eventually he's the reason why we all have a chance at eternity with him. Now, one last thing, and then I'll let you guys go, but I really appreciate you sticking this out and listening to this, because I think it's more important than anything we've talked about tonight. Honestly, HVAC is great, but this is greater. And for those of you who stick around and kind of listen to this, I really do appreciate it. And that's all I can say. I really do appreciate it. This is Romans 15. The title is The Example of Christ. We who are strong have an obligation to bear with the failings of the weak and to not please ourselves. Let each of us please his neighbor for his good, to build him up. For Christ did not please himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of those who reproached you fell on me. Guys, I'm going to leave you with that. Christ is our example. He's the baseline. He is the true baseline. You can't be substituted for. He's the only thing. And I urge you to, whenever you're pursuing knowledge in HVAC, to continue to do that, but pursue knowledge in this as well. I think if you read the Gospels and the New Testament, then you'll have a light turned on in your life. And I want that for each one of you. So I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. I really enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. Loved talking to David. Loved talking to Joe. I threw a little curveball to Joe and switched up what we were talking about, but he did a great job, and I think it worked out better in the long run. And skilled trade up. Jessica, try again next week. We're going to bring it back next week. I'll switch up the prizes. I'll keep those main ones in there because they're pretty good prizes, and we'll switch up some of the small ones. Maybe get that Kinepix in there. A little bit of temptation right there to to bow out on the lower levels, throwing a Knippet plier on level 2 or something. So, all right, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe. Please leave a like, and I will see you on the next one.